The links to join the channel, become a member here over at Subscribe so I can mailbox, mail me some comics. So Gal Gadot accused of spreading propaganda with her Hollywood screening of her country's intelligence agency film, and it does not go well. What a tricky video to make for YouTube. Inshallah, I will walk a narrow path. So perhaps you've heard there's a wee bit of a conflict going on across the water. And of course, in terms of sides to support, I support the correct one, which is the one you support, whatever that may be. So there are a lot of weird things going on in this issue because when both sides discuss the veracity of this, there is the path that would be the material misrepresentation of reality, and that's the path that both sides prefer to take. They both seem totally unfamiliar with the concept of describing things that are in accord with reality. They have a different relationship to the philosophy of veracity. They seem scared of it. So there was this conflict, and the funny thing about it, and the Ukraine one, is the lack of video coming out. It's all very tightly controlled. And if I was a cynic, I might say it's to control the narrative. That reality might be presented on video, and these countries wish to portray images and a storyline that would be divergent from reality. Because usually with events, videos come out instantly because people have cell phones that can live stream to various networks or take high definition video and upload it on social media. In fact, if they were the odds are pretty good that someone somewhere is going to be live streaming an event anyway, or video recording an event, especially if you had a musical event. People will live stream that or video record it. So it's kind of, I mean, a lot of things just don't quite add up. So in this recent event, there has not been the footage that one would expect. Then there were some other unusual events that arose because one side was making outrageous claims via official channels that were just on the face of them openly nonsense. The adage is that claims require evidence and extraordinary claims require more, not less. But they would make these bizarre claims, and when people asked for evidence, they attacked the people as istophobic because you didn't trust their ridiculous claims. Except, why would anyone trust the media or government? That was the weird thing. These people just kept putting out silly claims that a child wouldn't believe, and they were expecting people to believe it as if people were stupid. It was a stunning combination of propaganda and a lack of self-awareness. So instead of this footage being released instantly, they apparently gathered most of it up, carefully edited it, added dramatic music to manipulate emotions, voiceovers, special effects, and they worked on this movie for a month to make a proper Hollywood production. And they showed this secret movie, or propaganda as some would call it, to a select group of useful idiots. Instead of releasing the raw footage a month ago, or publicly releasing the film, which is what it is, it's a Hollywood movie that's meant to manipulate sheep. Never has a country behaved like this and expected people to take it seriously. I mean, this is like Russia level propaganda in the 70s and 80s. They treated the rest of the world as if they're so stupid that they would believe what is clearly propaganda. The whole situation is bizarre. So Gal Gadot and her husband helped make this movie that only a select group gets to watch, and then she doesn't even bother to attend the screening of the film, which makes me wonder, why didn't she just live stream the thing? Probably because people would call them out on their BS. Like, nothing about this story makes sense. It would be like if the American Department of Defense and Hollywood teamed up a month after some event to show a movie to a small group of Pravda idiots and not the general public. It's nonsense, and people would rightfully lampoon it. But because it's this other country, it's taken seriously, or at least people pretend to take it seriously, or there's a lot of dodging of this topic going on. It's kind of odd because it's clearly propaganda, but nobody wants to be honest about it. The whole thing is kind of spooky weird to see how scared the government and media are of calling out what's obviously BS. So, I mean, they have these the standards of this strict scrutiny they apply to everything else. I mean, more so anything on the right, but when it's something on the left, or if it's their favorite, whatever their axe to grind, they don't quite apply that strict, they don't put things under the magnifying glass and have a system of checks and balances. I mean, that's the mainstream media narrative, where all their mistakes, they're just, random coincidence mistakes, but they're always to benefit the left and they're against the right. And you go, those aren't random. That's not correlation is something else. It's like all your errors are only in one way. That shows you're biased, media. It's like obviously the mainstream media is biased. Anyway, so they screened this movie, which she doesn't bother to attend. Odd. Probably because she'd just laugh her ass off. The thing is, a lot of the things with these folks is Hollywood echo chamber is really deep, and these people believe a lot of their own propaganda because they never get any honest. Like she was in that group that released a video where they were singing Imagine from their gated communities and their mansions to everyone else who is struggling. I mean, that's the lack of self-awareness. They really don't see themselves as the rest of the world sees them. Anyway, so she does this screening, and protesters from both sides get out there and violently attack each other, because that seems to be what they really seem to enjoy doing. And I kind of suspect that Gal Gadot retired from Hollywood after this. They were not happy with her in the first Wonder Woman movie in, I don't know, 2018, I think. And then the follow-up came a couple years ago in 1984, which was a huge bomb. They were able to blame that on the Wu flu, because they couldn't release it in the theaters or something. They were lucky that the Wu flu came along, because if it wasn't for that, it would have been a big bomb, and they would have had no excuse, because it was a horrible movie. It was like 3 hours long or something ridiculous. Was it? Oh God, what was it? Chick Patty Jenkins or something who directed that thing? God, that was a bizarre. Everyone bad in the movie is blonde haired for some wacky reason. I mean, there's levels of propaganda in that movie that would do this country proud. Anyway. So I kind of suspect that Gal Gadot has retired from Hollywood. And there's a couple other. I think Amy Schumer is shilling pretty hard, and people are coming down against her, and a couple other folks in Hollywood. I mean, the best path if you're in Hollywood is just to stay off of social media until this whole thing blows over. The thing is, I can't. I mean, I assume she had to have retired from Hollywood after this event, because I can't imagine it would even be safe to go to a theater if she was in a movie, because you never know what would happen. So the new demographics of the West, both here and in Europe, are very much on one side of this conflict, and their numbers increase daily. So that country is losing support. In fact, Fox showed an age grouping. The older people supported that country more, and younger people supported less and less, to where you get to the like the 20 crowd and under, and like nobody supports that country, just because I mean, it's like they set a lot of these forces in motion, and now it's like kind of coming back to bite them, in the tail. It's like, yeah, what did you expect to do? And I mean, obviously there's a lot more to this than that, but I think I was careful enough. I mean, you never know what our globalist puppet masters, the Moloch worshippers at Google will find to be offended over, because they very much take one side of this issue, and a lot of other people are taking the other side. And she was actually, that if I could put a thought bubble, if I could get it past YouTube, it would be F those kids. No, Gal Gadot, they're innocent children. That's what I'll try to use for the thumbnail. It's a little bit tricky. I don't think people will see her in the same light, and a lot of other folks in Hollywood in the same light after these events. And they expected more people to be on their side for some reason. And that's the kind of the funny thing, is they're shocked that there's a diversity of opinions. Like, people can take both sides of an issue. Reasonable people can disagree without being disagreeable. It's like, no. If you don't take our side, you're insert ad hominem here. It's like, that's not how adults discuss geopolitical issues. It's like, this isn't a matter of debate. There's no two sides to this topic. Like, there's always two sides to every topic. Anyway, so yes, this would seem like this was a bit of propaganda. Like, no matter what side you're on, it's emotional for sure. But imagine if another country did that. It's like, That's the definition of propaganda. You took a month to gather up evidence, run it through Hollywood filters and editors to release a privately screened movie. That's bizarre. That if Russia did something like that, released a movie like that now to a select group of media and I don't know, useful idiots, like what would the left say if Russia did that? They would laugh their asses off. They would lose their freaking minds. They would compare, I don't know, Putin and Trump level propaganda. It's like, yes, because that would clearly be definition of propaganda. And when this country's doing it, it's the same thing. It's clearly propaganda. Live footage comes out for a reason. The media is impartial, fair, and unbiased. Their job is for them to report things honestly. Yeah, those days are long gone. They're supposed to put the stuff out there and let the audience make up their mind. But that's not how media is anymore. In fact, every time media uses certain adjectives or adverbs, prefix judgment terms, opinion terms, and they put them in as facts, that's just right on the face of it, the title. The media will do something like the media will call something istophobic. They'll call comments istophobic. This person made istophobic comments. Elon Musk was recently accused in the media of making istophobic comments about some country and some issue. And even in the title, if you're fair and impartial and you're looking at this as you should, cool dispassionately, that's an opinion that the media should not have put in there. The headline should have been, somebody made comments and one side is saying they're istophobic and the other side is defending them. But the media's job is not to say they're istophobic, because that's giving you the conclusion in what is the opinion part of their argument. But standards like that for editing, it's like the media is not the media anymore. And that's terrifying, because people still have this kind of detrimental reliance concept to mainstream media. But I mean, the white pill to all this is that the mainstream media is on their way out, because there's at the small end, there's channels like this. And at the large end, there's, Mark Dice and Salty and, those kind of normie-con mainstream people. But there's a ton of other alt media, and there's just thousands of these little people out there who are putting out a counter narrative, because the mainstream media is so bad that somebody with a cell phone is able to start their own media network. And it's only possible because the mainstream media is openly lying to you, which was a bipartisan issue a few years ago, to not trust the media and the government in big, I won't say fantastic companies, if I can confuse the P and the H there, farming companies, those kind of companies. You wouldn't trust those companies because they have a financial interest, and the government, the media, and those kind of large companies, like that was a left-wing position, right-wing position. That was just a reasonable man test position, to not trust things without evidence. But that's all the left has kind of changed now. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's your side or the other side. It's like, you still want to demand facts and evidence and source material and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I don't know if this is YouTube. This is a really iffy video for YouTube. But you notice I didn't say any hot words for the countries, and don't say anything in the comments, because it's just YouTube. It's not me. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on Subscribestar, Odyssey for as long as Odyssey lasts, then Rumble and Kick and DLive and Gab TV and a bunch of other, whatever the next live streaming platform is. We will, I speak in the royal we, shall be on there.